Pork chops, politicians, and plenty of food. They're all back at the Iowa State Fair. And we have our first potential presidential candidate visit. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, he talks about his place in the 2024 conversation and why he is not talking about defunding the FBI like some other Republicans right now. Plus, where are the teachers? They can get more money elsewhere, and right now they've been dealing with too much politics. That's chased some of them out of the classroom. We'll have an expert here who says he has an idea about where to find some future teachers.
From your local election headquarters, this is The Insiders with Dave Price.
So this week we might learn some more about the federal agents who last Monday went to Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. The Wall Street Journal had reported that agents removed 11 boxes of documents, some of them marked classified or top secret. The investigation would determine whether Trump broke the law by taking the documents. Some Republican members of Congress, like Florida's Matt Gaetz, said that the FBI should be defunded because of what happened. Iowa's Republican Governor Kim Reynolds has more frequently spoken out on national issues over the past year or so. She's frequently praised Donald Trump and criticized President Joe Biden. Well, she accused the Biden administration of, quote, taking our nation down a dangerous path, end quote, because of this FBI raid. Here's how Iowa's Republican U.S. senators responded. There's Chuck Grassley. He called for transparency into what happened, and he warned that a lack of transparency could hurt the FBI and the Department of Justice. Then Senator Joni Ernst, she talked about the unprecedented FBI action here. The agencies had investigated previously parents who threatened school board members. She brought that up. She said American people deserve answers, in this case, into this Trump investigation. Then there's Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. He chose a different way to talk about what's happened versus some other Republicans. So no talk about defunding federal law enforcement, no banana republic claims. We talked with him as he explores a presidential run for 2024, and we sat down behind the pork tent at the State Fair.
I understand the uproar and the people being concerned about it, and everybody's just sort of making political statements, and I usually don't do that. I usually have a measured response because I share some of the concerns about it, and I know why it might inflame an already divided country. But I also know that we have a due process, and people are innocent until proven guilty, and that no man is above the law, even the President of the United States. We don't know what the charges are. We don't know what the investigation's about. We got to get to the bottom of it.
We've got there's some members of Congress from your party who are essentially saying defund the FBI.
So I'm here rolling out a crime plan. When the first talk came out about defunding the police, I was the first elected leader in America to strongly push back on that on national television across the country. And I pushed a refund the police initiative, putting $500 million more into state and local police officers to support them, because we can't, saying you want to fix the crime problem by defunding the police is like saying you want to improve education by defunding the schools. So now we have Republicans with the same, it was Democratic rhetoric about defunding the police, and now we got Republican rhetoric about defunding the FBI. I mean, that's just absurd. It's we have concerns about what happened with this investigation, but we've got more FBI agents in our state than any other state in the country, where many of them are dedicated law enforcement officers that spent their whole career there.
Well, but
and they're fighting real crime.
As you step back and look at that, though, do you have any concerns about what that does to the institution, where the allegations are that federal law enforcement is a political weapon of the person in power?
Well, if it is a political weapon, and if this was done for political purposes, it's an outrageous assault on our justice system, and there needs to be consequences. We just don't know that to be the case yet, because they haven't released what this is all about. So I like anybody else, it's like we've got to see where the facts lead.
As you walk around here, is this your first trip here or not?
It's my second time to the fairgrounds, but it's my first time for the real fair. I was here for a couple of years ago, the National Governors Association. They had a mini fair. So I got a pork chop on a stick and a fried Oreo, and we walked around the fairgrounds, but there wasn't 100,000 people here with me.
All right, so what's the, frequently when we have out-of-towners come in, they will see parallels between their own state's residents and then Iowans. What do you see as similarities?
It's funny. I was just at one of our county fairs last week. Our state fair's coming up in another week, and the people that come to the fair, first of all, there's wonderful people here in Iowa, and this is the most incredible fair I've ever seen. I know you probably can't say it's better than your own home state fair, but this is 10 times bigger than our Maryland State Fair. But I'm anxious to see some of the kids that are participating, on the 4-Hers and FFA guys, and I want to see them showing their animals, which I really enjoy seeing the pride of those kids. Just meeting the regular folks from Iowa, which I'm hoping to do today, and I'm also going to try some of the great food products. I just ate a pork chop on a stick. I'm going to see what else I can try today, but it's a great fair, and I'm just happy to be here. I mean, obviously Iowa has such an important role in the political process, and I'm a political figure that's been, a spokesperson at the national level for the past 8 years, and it's about time I showed up at the Iowa State Fair.
But you're well aware that in this climate, if you're a Republican who says anything critical about Trump, you get your teeth kicked in.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm always a guy that's pretty direct, and I tell things like it is. So when I supported Trump, and I supported most of his policies, his economic policies, his border policies, but when he did something that I disagreed with, I just had the courage to say what I thought. And so I have, from time to time, disagreed with the president, but I'm not one of these ones like many of his former cabinet secretaries and staff members that spend their whole days attacking him. I'm focused on running my state and about pushing the policies that I think are important. We came out with a economic relief plan last month. We came out with a crime plan this month. I don't spend a lot of time talking about Donald Trump, and I just hope that the party, we have a lot of voices, a lot of diverse voices, and I think we need to look to the future and not just constantly relitigate the past and talk about 2020. I think that's how Republicans can be successful, which, by the way, I've been more successful than just about any other Republican in the country. I'm in the bluest state in America, and I became the second Republican reelected in 242-year history of our state, and have one of the highest approval ratings in America among Republicans, independents, and Democrats. So, I think if you just play to the base, we're going to lose all the national elections. That's why we lost the White House and the House and the Senate. I think we have to have a message that appeals to a broader audience, and I think we have to listen to different voices. And you can't just put your whole faith in one person or in one, small subset of our base.
You clearly wanted to keep your office next year with a Republican in charge.
Yeah.
The candidate you wanted to win did not win, and you are not going to endorse your party's nominee. How weird is that?
It's pretty weird, and it was an unusual circumstance where the Democratic Governors Association attempted to force the nomination of someone who has no ability to win in our state. We're the bluest state in America. I just said I was the second person in 242 years to be reelected. I did that by winning all of the Republicans, which is only about 20%, all of the independents, and a big chunk of Democrats. We had the ability to potentially do that again, whether we had a strong cabinet secretary who served in the legislature, who was a small business owner, a woman, attractive, female, smart. She might have given us a run for the money. Instead, Donald Trump supported a crazy guy that has no chance to win. He's an active member of QAnon, and he took 3 busloads of people to the Capitol, and he wanted to hang Mike Pence. That person's not going to get elected in the state of Maryland, so it's unfortunate. The Democrats spent $3.5 million to prop up the guy that Trump wanted, and now they don't have to campaign in the general election. We're going to have a Democratic governor.
So how do you decide post office here whether there's a place for you in a national campaign?
Well, that's part of what I'm doing. I mean, I know that there's going to be a place for me. I led the nation's governors. I've been on the executive committee with Kim Reynolds, the Republican Governors Association. I'm going to continue to be a voice in some way.
You know how to flip a pork burger?
I now know how to flip a pork burger better than I did before. I knew beef burgers, but I did the pork burgers today, and ate the pork chop on a stick, which was pretty delicious. But yeah, I don't know what the future holds, but I think getting out, talking to people, and seeing, I think being a voice, I think we ought to have many voices. We're focused on the 2022 election. I came here to help, people like Randy Feenstra and Don Bacon next door in Nebraska, Kim Reynolds, Jim Pillen next door in Nebraska.
Randy Feenstra's pretty safe.
Feenstra's safe. He didn't really need the help, but I'm focused on helping people that I think are good elected officials this time. And we have more than 2 years until the next election, but I'm going to be a voice in some role. That doesn't mean I'm going to be a candidate, but it's good to get out and talk to folks and see what they're concerned about, and let them know the things that we've been successful with in Maryland. We had the biggest economic turnaround in America. We cut taxes 8 years in a row by $4.8 billion, and we took a $5 billion deficit and turned it into the largest surplus. And we took our economy from 49th out of 50 states to number 6, biggest economic turnaround in the country.
He's got the stump speech figured out. Up next, priorities.